Hello everyone, welcome back to my stream. Tonight we're going through Xidad. We need to check out our charges, but as far as I recall it's okay. Yes, it is. Which means that here we go. Onwards for our precious loot. We've already killed our first enemy here. Let's use a torch. Right. You see two enemies here. Zealots. No, you didn't hear me at all. That was a ghost of your imagination.
Where are you?
What the hell? What the hell was that? Smart tactics. Hide inside me. So, you've got sword bearers. Come on, you're healing. I did it too, but you have a tactical and numerical advantage. It's funny how they hop up. You heal, I heal. I'm out of charges, you know. Alright. Some respite. Let's check it out. What have we here? We got some explosions. Alright. Ooh, a lab. Fungus stock. A potion of insulation. And excuse me. On hook. We didn't move. What, they eat that? Okay. Seems okay to me. If that's food, what are the drinks? I saw some potions. Maybe that's the drink. It definitely should be. Sedate catacombs. I made it. I made this jump. Alright, apparently their boss knows how to have a good time. Arbiter's log. Nelfit overheard questioning mandates of our Lord Shoggorath. 10 days in the pit. Proselytizer admitted guilt of thieving bread from pantry. No punishment given. 2 missionaries conspired to incriminate the suspected heretic. Commendation issued. A neophyte accidentally fell into the pit, sweeping our chambers the other day. Besides nearly snapping her leg, she had to wait the better part of the morning for the patrolman to discover and release her, speak with courier about having duplicate key forged by Smith in Crucible. Neophyte mistakenly summoned an Atronach during evening meal. 2 days in the pit. Guide to New Sheoth Cemetery. Oh, 16 Accords of Madness, Volume 6. A Traveler's Guide to New Sheoth and the Shivering Isles, Brynth Erlin. A guide. Now that would be of some use. After all, we need to know our directions. New Sheoth is generally recognized as the jewel of the Shivering Isles, the culinary and cultural epicenter of the entire realm. Founded at the whim of our Lord Sheogorath, the city is a model of the Mad God's own perfect vision. First-time visitors to New Sheoth are often impressed by the warmth, generosity and general good humor of its residents. Visitors are welcomed with open arms and generally made to feel as if they are part of the large New Sheoth family. The sheer scope of the sights and sounds in the city can be daunting to the new visitor, and this guide aims to make the transition as easy as possible for newcomers. Visitors will find the city is divided into 3 main sections: Bliss, Crucible, and the Palace. Bliss and Crucible house the majority of residential and commercial buildings in the city, while the Palace area houses the magnificent Palace of Sheogorath, as well as the residences of the reigning Dukes of Mania and Dementia. Though located in the same city, visitors will find that the Bliss and Crucible areas of New Sheoth offer distinct experiences. The shining parapets and golden roads of Bliss stand in stark contrast to the rustic buildings and unpaved streets of Crucible. The travelers interested in a bustling nightlife and fine cuisine might prefer time spent in Bliss, renowned for its extravagant galas and spirited affairs. Visitors who seek a quieter experience would do well to spend their time exploring Crucible, where dark seducer patrols encourage a more serene way of life. No matter your taste, New Sheoth promises an experience like no other. This guide will give advice on how to best navigate the oft confusing though ultimately rewarding channels of this magnificent city. Arriving in New Sheoth. Travelers to New Sheoth will arrive at its gates from either the highlands of Mania or the swampy lowlands of Dementia. Many make the mistake of hurrying directly to the gates of the city without exploring the beautiful, majestic countryside outside the city walls. Yeah, most of them do, but not I. This is certainly a mistake, as the forests and glades of the Shivering Isles are unlike those found anywhere else in all these realms. Some discussion of these areas is warranted, as exploring them is vital to experiencing all the region has to offer. Mania, vibrant land of towering flora. Walking amongst the giant mushroom trees of Mania is an experience any new visitor to the Shivering Isles is not soon to forget. Hours spent wandering in the forests of spore trees, breathing deeply of the spore-laden air, these are the times destined to remain a part of you forever. Feelings of peace and content wash over this body and calm the soul. It can seem as if you haven't a care in the world. Take the time to examine the beautiful plant life found in the region. Treat yourself to alocasia fruit, which is known to have restorative properties, or pluck an aster bloom core, which some locals believe has the ability to ward off the attacks of evil spirits. If you plan on spending some time in the Mania countryside, consider visiting the small community of Hale. The residents are mostly local artists and are very welcoming to aware travelers. Be sure to explore the lovely areas surrounding Hale and enjoy the peaceful atmosphere. A cautious traveler is a safe traveler, though, even in the idyllic lands of Mania. While the paths that wind through the scenic countryside are generally safe, the surrounding regions pose some danger for the careless traveler. Mania is home to a number of indigenous animal species, some of which could be threatening to a less seasoned adventurer. We recommend sticking to the clearly marked paths when traveling anywhere within the Shivering Isles. The slow grace of Dementia. It is often said, time spent in Dementia is time not spent elsewhere. Truer words were never spoken. Many have spent days roaming the small islets of Dementia, enjoying the scenic views of the majestic lowlands. Travel over the quaint bridges that span the small islands of southern Dementia, and enjoy a beautiful sunset among the moss-covered trees. If you're looking for a place to relax while exploring the lands of Dementia, we suggest a visit to Deep Wallow. The small community is a working farm, where the residents use a unique method of raising crops of some of the extraordinary local plant life. The residents of Deep Wallow are private people, so care should be taken in approaching them. Once you've learned their customs, we found them to be a most interesting group with whom to spend some time. Tip: for an exciting day trip, visit the Hill of Suicides, a site unlike any other in all the Shivering Isles. Located in central Dementia, travelers should not pass up the opportunity to take in the sights at this unique and fascinating location. There is no fee to visit the hill, though some travelers have found it almost impossible to leave. Getting to the Shivering Isles. Arrival to the Shivering Isles is solely at the discretion of our Lord Shoggorath, Prince of Madness. Getting around. The best way to explore the Shivering Isles is by foot. Take the time to meander along the paths that stretch across the beautiful landscape. A weary traveler can often find a place to rest at one of the many campsites found dotted across the world. Accommodations expensive. The choosy beggar Bliss, Ravenbiter, and his wife Sheer Meadish run a fine restaurant and inn in the Bliss district of New Sheoth. The rooms are nicely appointed and the food is above average for the area. We highly recommend trying the wine, it's some of the best in the city. Many travelers find lunch to be an especially good time to visit the Choosy Beggar. Though the prices are no lower, the earlier hour often finds Sheer Meadish in a more accommodating mood. Moderate. Sickly Bernice Tap House Crucible. Don't let the name fool you. Sickly Bernice Tap House is exactly what you'd expect from an inn located in downtown Crucible. The lodgings, while not as opulent as those found at the nearby Choosy Beggar, are satisfactory. Sickly Bernice is an affable hostess when she is well enough to work. The food is palatable, as are the beverages. After a visit, make sure to see Ariel at Ariel's Mysteries. He sells a wide assortment of magics, including some wonderful low-cost cure disease spells. Shopping. Common Treasures, Bliss. If you're looking for, well, anything, Common Treasures and Bliss is a good place to start. Trader Tills Aerolith has a wide assortment of wares available to the discerning customer. She's also more than willing to negotiate a good price for those unwanted items you may find in your travels. Cutter's Weapons, Bliss. There's not a finer weapon shop to be found in all of New Sheoth. Cutter runs a fine establishment and usually keeps a good variety of weapons in stock and ready for use. She'll do repairs for you on the spot, and she seems to take extra special care with your bladed weapons. This shop is not to be missed. Books of Bliss, located in Bliss. If you're looking for a reading material in your journey, this is the place to get it. Sontaire is a very friendly bookseller with a keen eye for more than just books. You won't be disappointed if you spend some of your hard-earned gold in this establishment. The Missing Pauldron, Crucible. If it's armor you're in the mood to buy, look no further than the Missing Pauldron in Crucible. Recently reopened under new manager Dumac Grobonk, the shop seems to be doing quite well. Dumac will be happy to sell you some new armor, repair your old favorites, or just sit a while and tell you the rather long and interesting story of his life. Ariel's Mysteries, Crucible. Many adventurers don't like to travel without a full spellbook, and Ariel's is the place to go in New Sheoth to stock up on the latest in spellmaking. It seems at times stands still as you browse through the excellent selection of spells. Highly recommended. Things found, Crucible. It's an odd assortment of items to be sure, but it's never a dull day when you visit Things Found in Crucible. Owners Abuki has scoured the realm in search of the most intriguing and varied assortment of magical items to be found almost anywhere. Take some time and browse around, you never know what you might find. We'll take that. We can sell that. Push button. Ooh. Now that is something. So it's the pit, right? It's of great comfort, I see. Zealotry. Ooh, biography of Barenziah. The Living Woods. The Gnarl is a creature of the forest like no other. Away from the walls of New Sheoth, they are called the Walking Trees. Gnarl are known for their affinity with the elements. If Gnarl is struck by elemental forces of fire, frost or shock, it uses the energy to grow stronger and larger. Fortunately, the effects only last for a short time. I think I already read that. The Prophet Ardensul. Volume 2. Where's the Volume 1? Shivering Bestiary. Yeah, we read that. Galarian the Mystic. Shivering Apothecary. Author Cinda Amadius. Many things. Wet things and dry things. Things from plants, things from animals. Things from stone and sky and tree and man and myrrh. So many beautiful things for potions, all of them there for the taking, waiting to be plucked and put to use. Grind me. They take my essence and turn me into something new, something wonderful. They cry out to me. I have given my life to finding so many of the wondrous things of Tamriel, and now the things that lie beyond. The realm of the Mad God, dangerous and beckoning, has so many new things to offer that I have trembled with excitement over it. I stop to take note of what I have found so that I may not forget it in the coming days when I spend my time searching, mixing and discovering. The apprentice will find that marrow from the shambles and fins from scalons merge to make a deadly poison that strikes at once very hard, damaging the health of those who ingest it. Many a blade did I sink into wet flesh and dry bone to learn this, but what I have found pleases me. Flame stalks and the very essence of flesh Atronox can be mixed by even a novice to counter that damage, as one can drink a potion made from these two to feel healthy again. The expert may find that rather than risk himself against those walking monstrosities, the screaming maw can be used instead. For Magicka, and without Magicka, where would I stand now? The ichor of an elytra can be mixed with Withering Moon by a novice, or Thornhook by a journeyman. No explorer in the Shivern Isles should venture forth without looking for these. The Tongue of Hunger, by itself a marvel of anatomy, can be eaten to cure poisons or matched with Withering Moon to cure disease. I cannot help but wonder what disease would be so dire as to risk one's life against the hunger. I have been most pleased to find that to the expert alchemist, a rod scale and worm's head caps can be mixed to paralyze one's enemies. This has proven most useful in extracting ingredients from the Isle's less cordial residents. This goes into my collection. 16 Quarters of Madness, Volume 12. An Elytra's Life by Carmel. It is a strange life that I have chosen here amongst the beasts of these Shivern Isles. These Elytra, a most gentle creature, if ever they were a gentle creature, they have welcomed me among their brood as one of their own. I have made my life and home in their tunnels as if they were my own humble cabin, and indeed I have been invited into their warm family unit. Many who encounter the Elytra are initially set to unrest by their appearance. Their size alone is sufficient to unsettle most of the humanoid races. The enlarged thorax can grow to be as large as a human male and nearly a full span in girth. When I first encountered my insectoid friends, I believed the enlarged thorax to be a method to manufacture the ichor that is vital to the lives of the Elytra. In truth, the thorax is the precious womb where their noble lives began. Oh, please wait a bit. However, one cannot discount the significance of the ichor that gathers at the spike near the base of the thorax. This precious substance emits a smell that most will describe as acidic and sour, although I find it to be a delight. The ichor serves the most brilliant purpose of the elytra. It is used to paralyze living tissue of other creatures, rendering them unable to resist the advances of the elytra. Here is where the true brilliance takes place. When choosing a suitable host, the elytra will impose itself on the creature. Any creature that draws breath seems to be biologically suitable for this purpose. I myself have witnessed elytra matrons choose creatures that range from simple wolves to a brilliant Khajiit alchemist. Each time the host is chosen carefully. Oh, I know that the superstitious farmers of the Isles will say that the elytra will attack any creature, but after what I've seen, I know that they approach each host with the utmost care. The host is injected and their body becomes enriched with the flowing sweetness of the ichor. They relax and quickly expire as the magical nature of the elytra's sting takes a hold of the host in its gentle grasp. After the host moves on, the elytra nests its eggs in the still warm shell of the host. There the eggs warm and grow over a period of mere days, feeding on the given flesh of the host. Soon after, the hatchlings emerge and stumble forward into the world. The blessings of Sheogorath. The 13 blessings of Sheogorath for our Lord Sheogorath, without whom all thought would be linear and all feeling would be fleeting. Blessed are the madmen, of the keys to secret knowledge, phobic, always wary of that which would do them harm, obsessed for their curses are clear, addicts may they quench the thirst that never ebbs, murderers for they have found beauty in the grotesque, fire lovers for their hearts are always warm, artists for in their hands the impossible is made real, musicians for their ears they hear the music of the soul, sleepless as they bask in wakeful dreaming, paranoid ever watchful for our enemies, visionaries for their eyes see what might be, pain lovers for in their suffering we grow stronger, mad God who tricks us when we are foolish, punishes us when we are wrong, tortures us when we are unmindful, and loves us in our imperfection. The Standing Stones by Anonymous. Any visitor to the Shivering Isles will soon come across the dreadful shape of a tall, crystalline stone looming over them like an accusing finger, variously known as standing stones or obelisks. They cannot be avoided in traveling the Shivering Isles, no matter how hard you might try. There are many theories on the origin and purpose of these stones. Purpose? Can a stone have a purpose? Is it a sentient being or an inanimate object? Is it listening to you, watching you, whispering to you? Some claim that they are simply interesting geological formations. Not so, not so. They cannot be chipped or cracked or even scorched. Believe me, I have tried. Nothing harms them, although perhaps they still feel the blows. They seemed angry for a while. I sang to them, and that seems to soothe them. I can't say why. And if you've tried to dig one up, as I have, you know that they do go down forever. Months I spent digging down, no matter how deep there it was, still gleaming in the secret darkness beneath the earth. They know the secrets, even those that are buried deep. I have spent many years trying to understand these stones. Avoiding doesn't work. As I said, they're everywhere. So try for understanding, as I have. What is the humming? What do the whispers mean? I can't say that I know everything about them, but I have learned many things, some of which I can share with you. But I don't know what they want, not yet. Perhaps if I knew what they wanted, I wouldn't be so afraid. They whisper secrets to me, but I promised not to tell. They know many secrets. They're always watching. They never sleep, not even at night, in the dark of the moon. I know they are old, older perhaps than the world itself. They have been civilizations rise and fall. They have seen civilizations rise and fall. And they hate us. They're waiting for their master to return. They won't tell me who or when. If they hate me so, why do they tell me their secrets? It is because they know my secrets already. You may not believe me, most don't, but most have not spent the time that I have in trying to learn about these stones. I have spent days listening to their secret whispers and learning their language. They talk, you know, to each other mostly, but not to me. But now to me. At first, it was just a humming, which you can hear if you lean against a stone and listen very closely. It may take hours or days, but you will hear them. And once you hear the voice of the standing stones, you will never be able to shut it out. Alright. We'll take it. Bark and sap. The root system and the ecology and culture of Gnarl. Right. Cheap wine here. Shamble Skull will take it. Fall of Wytharn, Chapter 1, in which the Keep Wytharn, or Wytharn, is established and passes from the first generation of rule to the second. Count Wytharn, who built and appointed his keep from the mud of dementia, gathered to himself any who would pledge themselves as liege. Nearby tribes of fanatics were united as vassals to protect his lands and line. And thus the Count lived out his days in the Isles. He and his countess Mawen bore Xaran and Nuala, the first son and daughter of Wytharn. Xaran's mother and father believed that with the proper political influence, Xaran could certainly usurp Sheogorath and carry the Shivan Isles into a prosperous age. For his part, Count Wytharn refused even to acknowledge Sheogorath, thinking himself as his heirs irrefutable rulers of the Isles. This, of course, amused the mad god to no end, and so he allowed the marriage of Xaran to Shilin Glade, daughter of an Argonian midwife who believed that the mortal's fear would afford her daughter nothing but hatred and oppression. Shilin Glade was in excellent a countess to Xaran as any in the Isles could ask for, wanting nothing but to bring pride and honor to her adopted house and court. For years her mind was untouched, even living as she did in the heart of dementia. Alas, none may reside too long in the Isles without the blessing of Lord Sheogorath, and so Shilin Glade was finally pushed to the brink by infidelity of her husband the Count. Xaran was obsessively nepotistic and distrustful of anyone with whom he shared no blood relation, including his bride. Though Shilin Glade bore a son by the Count, who disappeared from the Isles in his 20th year, it is known that the two shared their bed with decreasing frequency as Xaran's paranoia grew, and he found himself in the arms of his birth sister Nuala, who bore of their incestuous affair the heir apparent, Kesrian. There are those of us who remember personally the reign of Kesrian and his contribution to the toll of Wytharn. Chapter 2, in which the birth of Count Kesrian heralds a glorious, bloody and brief age of Wytharn. Violent-natured and quick of temper, Kesrian sought enemies where there were none. His early days of the siege of Wytharn saw the extermination of every tribe of man, mer or beast within sight of the keep, until none were left. During his brief reign, much of the southeastern coastline of Dementia was unsafe to travel, littered with the corpses of trespassers in the lands of Wytharn, staked to trees and as territorial markers. Besides his sadistic temper, Count Kesrian of Wytharn was known also for his slow wit and ailing health. Indeed, Kesrian was born with legs that seemed mismatched in length and breathed with a laborious rasp. As a youth, tutors were hard-pressed to school the dull boy. Midwives and nurses surrounded him, attending his every ailment with balms and vapors from every corner of the Isles, but when he came of age, he sent them away, often becoming violent in their dismissal. Perhaps showering the influence of his father, Perhaps showing the influence of his father, Khazrian became increasingly introverted, allowing only a select few courtiers in his presence. He was seen in public only when organizing his vassal fanatics for yet another raid on the countryside. Typically adhering to the desperate counsel of his advisors, Khazrian paused in his plundering to take a wife and ensure the continuation of Vaitharn's noble line. The increasingly ill count, who chose a vibrant peasant woman as his betrothed, from a heretic commune in the wilds of Mania. Indeed, Countess Jidain could not have been any more his opposite. Vassal fanatics, long loyal to their ancestral agreement with Count Vitrayan, were inflamed by this heresy, and tensions grew as the health of Khazrian finally failed, and his young son, Sirion, ascended the throne of Vaitharn. Chapter 3, in which conflict besets Vaitharn and the ironic Count Sirion is overwhelmed. Young Count Sirion had scarcely been seen in public before his hasty coronation in the bailey of Vaitharn Keep. Some say he still bore bruises from beatings at the feeble hand of his father during his final hours during the ceremony. Had Sirion been old enough to govern, his gentle resort demeanor may have been enough to ease the seething tension among the vassal tribe, but his mother, Countess Jidain, was forced to assume many of the duties her husband had so long ignored. By all accounts, Jidain was a fit countess, loved by her people, but the leaders of the vassal fanatics could not contain indefinitely their personal sentiments of outrage at her Manic heritage. Despite her exceedingly tactful attempts at diplomacy, the animosity against her was deep-seated and grew over the years. It is perhaps admirable that the vassals remained true to the oath so long. When Sirion finally came of age to rule, the sheepish boy count tried in earnest to ascend gracefully, but his fear of the world was so great that even the shadow of a passing bird would startle him visibly. He was all but unable to address the people publicly, and when he attempted to placate the vassals, still outraged by his mother's heritage, he could scarcely contain his fright, and some say that he even soiled himself before fleeing the throne chamber. Certain as the march of fate, the tolerance of the vassal fanatics snapped, and warriors encircled Vaitharn. The Count's personal guards were ill-suited to repel the attack, and the siege lasted a single day. Since the day of the battle, no living soul was wandered away from Vaitharn. Local myth tells of a tireless struggle between the spirits of the fanatic vassals and Vaitharn's meager defenders, damned by the treachery of fanatics and the cowardice of Sirion to replay their final moments in perpetuity. Volume 9. We'll take that. Wow, Jack. Little boys shouldn't summon up the forces of eternal darkness unless they have an adult supervising. I know, but on that sunny night of the 5th of First Seed, I didn't want an adult. I wanted Hermaeus Mora, the Daedra of knowledge, learning gums and varnishes. You see, I was told by a beautiful large-breasted man who lived under the library in my hometown that the 5th of First Seed was Hermaeus Mora's night, and if I wanted the Ogma Infinium, the Book of Knowledge, I had to summon him. When you're the new King of Solitude, every bit of knowledge helps. Normally, you need a witch's coven, or a mage's guild, or at least matching pillowcase and sheets to invoke a Prince of Oblivion. The man under the library showed me how to do it myself. He told me to wait until the storm was at its height before shaving the cat. I have forgotten the rest of the ceremony, it doesn't matter. Someone appeared who I thought was Hermaeus Mora. The only thing that made me somewhat suspicious was Hermaeus Mora, from what I read, was a big blobby multi-eyed clawed monstrosity, and this guy looked like a waistcoated banker. Also, he kept calling himself Sheogorath, not Hermaeus Mora. Still, I was so happy to have successfully summoned Hermaeus Mora, those inconsistencies did not bother me. He had me do some things that didn't make any sense to me, beyond the mortal scope, breadth, and can, I suppose, and then his servant happily gave me something he called the Webberjack. Webberjack. Maybe the Webberjack is the book of knowledge. Maybe I'm smarter because I know cats can be bats, can be rats, can be hats, can be gnots, can be thats, and can be thices. And that doors can be boars, can be snores, can be floors, can be roars, can be spores, can be yours, can be mine. I must be smart, for the interconnective system is very clear to me. Then why or wherefore do people keep calling me mad? The Webberjack. The Prophet Ardensul, Volume 2. Wait, do I have the first tome? This too is Volume 2. The Prophet Ardensul, Volume 2 by Sakellum. When one approaches the walls of New Sheoth, the eyes are unavoidably drawn to a magnificent sight. A mystical flame rises from a simple tower that juts from a circular building. To some, the flame is a beacon of strength and guidance, to others a mockery of their beliefs. It is the epicenter of a most interesting conflict, two sides of the same coin vying for the favor of their god. It is an unremarkable building with a most remarkable past. It is the Saculum Ardensul. Although the Saculum itself predates Ardensul's life, both the Manics and the Demented contest the history of the Saculums heavily. The Manics believe that on that very spot before New Sheoth existed, Ardensul was first afflicted with a grand enlightenment and became blinded. The Demented postulate that the Saculum was the location where Ardensul endured the 100-day torture. However, it was not these purported events of Ardensul's life that aligned the Saculum with the Prophet's name. It was his death. Here again, the Manics and the Demented are divided. The Manic story of Ardensul's death begins with a night of superlative revelry in the Saculum. The event was replete with a seemingly inexhaustible supply of green mote and spirits. Ardensul and his 213 followers engaged in a veritable orgy of merrymaking and overindulgence, a night fraught with a profusion of singing, dancing, and fornicating. As the celebration reached a crescendo and the event reached its whirlwind apex, one by one, Ardensul's followers began to drop to the ground, their lifeblood draining from their bodies until the ground was soaked in a crimson red. The excesses of their hedonism had taken its toll and had caused their very hearts to explode. Although details are uncertain, it was said Ardensul was the last to die with a look of pure bliss upon his face. The Demented have a radically different story of the events leading to Ardensul's demise. Fearing that one of his followers would one day turn traitor and bury a blade in his back, Ardensul sought a method to see deep into a man's soul and reveal his true feelings. After an exhaustive search, he uncovered the secret of visceromany. the Visceromancy, the science of divination through the observation of the entrails of others. Armed with this knowledge, he summoned his flock to the Saculum. After imbibing the wine Ardensul gave them, his followers suddenly felt themselves paralyzed, aware of their surroundings but unable to move. Then, one by one, Ardensul cut out the still beating hearts of his followers and read their lifeblood. After removing all 213 hearts, he still hadn't located the traitor. Furious, he reached into his chest and tore out his own heart. Before the light faded from his eyes, Ardensul was reported to have realized the ironic truth. He was the traitor, destined to kill himself. Whether or not one chooses to take either of these stories seriously is of little import. The truth remains that the Saculum is a significant location of a highly regarded prophet's death. To this day, the building is still shared among the Manics and the Demented, and depending on Lord Sheogorath's whim, the favored site becomes its ruling body. Well, we read anything here. That's only a skull. If anyone wants that. Alright, here's the pit. It takes us to catacombs. Actually, both roads take us to catacombs, so let's go there. Yeah, you better stop drinking. We're low on charges. Stand still, I'm shooting you. Can't assess the damage. All the arrows disappeared. Hey, did you find the body here? So that's cell key, alright, no problem. Yo, bro. Whoa. That was Matriarch. We killed her with one hit. Yeah, back into bed. Where's the arrow? I mean, where are the arrows? Alright, more comfort in that. Myths of Sheogorath by Maimophonos. Sheogorath invents music. In the earliest of days, in a time when the world was still raw, Sheogorath decided to walk amongst the mortals. He donned his guise of gentleman with a cane, and moved from a place to place without being recognized. After 11 days and 11 nights, Sheogorath decided that life among mortals was even more boring than his otherworldly existence. What can I do to make their lives more interesting? He said to himself. At that same moment, a young woman nearby commented wistfully to herself, "The sounds of the birds are so beautiful." Sheogorath silently agreed with her. Mortals could not make the beautiful and inspired calls of birds. Their voices were wretched and mundane. He could not change the nature of mortals, for that was the purview of other dead princes. However, he could give them tools to make beautiful sounds. Sheogorath took hold of the petulant woman and ripped her asunder. From her tendons he made lutes. From her skull and arm bones he made a drum. From her bones he made flutes. He presented those gifts to the mortals, and thus music was born. Sheogorath and King Leander. King Leander was known to be an exceedingly rational man. He lived in a palace that was a small, simple structure and adorned with art ugly to look upon. "I don't need more than this," he would say. "Why spend my gold on such luxuries when I can spend it on my armies or on great public works?" His kingdom prospered under his sensible rule. However, the people did not always share the king's sense of practicality. They would build houses that were beautiful to look upon, although not necessarily very practical. They devoted time and energy to work of art. They would celebrate events with lavish festivals. In general, they were quite happy. King Leander was disappointed that more of them did not follow his example and lead frugal, sensible lives. He brooded on this for many years. Finally, he decided that his subjects simply didn't understand how much more they could accomplish if they didn't waste time on those frivolous activities. Perhaps, he reasoned, they just needed more examples. The king decreed that all new buildings must be simple, unadorned, and no larger than was necessary for their function. The people were not happy about this, but they liked their king and respected the new law. In a few short years, they were more plain buildings than ornate ones. The citizens used the money saved to make and buy even more lavish art and hold even more excessive celebrations. Once again, King Leander decided to provide them a strict example of how beneficial it would be to use their time and resources for more practical purposes. He banned all works of art in the city. The people were quite put out by this, but they knew that their king was doing what he thought was best for them. However, human nature is not so easily denied. In a few more years, the city was filled with plain, simple buildings and devoid of any sort of art. However, the people now had even more money and time to devote to their parties and festivals. With a heavy heart, King Leander decided that his people were to be treated like children, and like all children, they needed rules and discipline laid down by great figures of authority to make them understand what was truly important in life. He decreed that there should be no revelry in the city. Singing, dancing, and music were all banned. Even food and drink were limited to water and simple foodstuffs. The people had had enough. The revolt was out of the question, since King Leander was a very well trained and equipped army. They visited the shrines and temples in droves, praying to all the gods, and even to some of the Daedric princes, that King Leander would revoke these new oppressive laws. Sheogorath heard their pleas and decided to visit King Leander. He appeared to the king in his dreams at a field of flowers, each with arms instead of petals, and the face of the mad god in the center. "I am lord of the creative and lord of the deranged. Since you have no use for my gifts of creativity, I have decided to bless you with an abundance of my other gift." From that day forward, every child born in the city was born into madness. Since infants do not reveal illnesses of the mind, it was several years before this was realized. The king's own son was among the victims, suffering from seizures and delusions, yet King Leander refused to change his ways. When his son Glint was 12 years old, he stabbed his father while Leander was sleeping. With his dying breath, King Leander asked why. His son replied, "It is the most practical thing I could do." The new young king ordered all the palace servants slaughtered. He ordered a grand festival to celebrate his new reign and the repeal of Leander's laws. He served the crowds a stew made from the carcasses of the palace servants. He ordered the east-facing walls of every building painted red, and the west-facing walls painted in stripes. He decreed that all citizens wear ornate masks on the backs of their heads. He then burned down the palace and began construction of a new one. In the new palace, the young king ordered his personal chambers to not have any doors, for fear that small woodland creatures would attack him. He ordered that if it had have no windows, for fear that the sun and moon were jealous of him and plotting his death. And thus ended the line of King Leander. The people of the city returned to their grand works of art and raucous celebrations. They talked and acted as if they still had a living king, and even kept up the palace, using it to house and care for their mad children. Sheogorath was mightily pleased with his outcome. From that day forward, the city was blessed with more than the normal number of gifted artists and deranged citizens. The contest of wills. Wait a bit, please. A mighty wizard named Ravade once walked in the winds of time to find Lord Sheogorath. His intent was to win a favor from the most capricious of the Daedric princes. Upon finding Sheogorath, Ravade spoke humbly to him. "Lord Sheogorath, I beg a favor of you. I would gladly drive 1,000 men mad in your name if you would but grant me the greater magical powers." Fortunately for Ravade, Sheogorath was in a playful mood. He proposed a game. "I will grant your wish if you are still sane in 3 days. During that time, I will do my utmost to drive you mad. It shall be great fun." Ravade was not so certain that he liked this new deal. He had been really looking forward to driving 1,000 men mad. "Lord Sheogorath, I regret having disturbed you with my shallow, selfish request. I withdraw my unfortunate plea and will humbly leave this place." Sheogorath just laughed. "Too late, mighty Ravade. The game is afoot, and you must play." Ravade fled only to find that all exits from the Daedric realm were now sealed. He wandered aimlessly, constantly looking over his shoulder, jumping at every noise. Each moment brought new terror as he waited for Sheogorath to begin. After 3 days, Ravade was convinced that every plant and animal was a tool of Sheogorath. He hadn't eaten or drunk for fear that Sheogorath had poisoned their food or drink. He hadn't slept for fear of Sheogorath invading his dreams, which was foolish, as dreams are the domain of Vermina. May she grant us restful sleep. It was then that Sheogorath appeared to him. Ravade cried out, "You have set the whole world to watching me. Every creature and plant are doing your bidding to drive me mad." Sheogorath replied, "Actually, I have done nothing. You have driven yourself mad with your fears. Your delusions prove that you are truly deranged, and therefore I win. While you wanted to make 1,000 men mad, I only wanted to break one man's mind, yours." From that day forward, Ravade served Sheogorath's every whim. Whenever daring travelers try to approach Sheogorath, Ravade warns them, "Sheogorath is already inside each of us. You have already lost." Another 16 Accords of Madness. Saints and Seducers. Sentinels of the Isles, a treatise on Golden Saint, Dark Seducer Culture and History within the Shivering Isles by Andoshi Marrier. 16. Alright, let's go. Author's note: this volume attempts to catalog and analyze known, suspected and rumored facts about the 2 races that serve to maintain order within the Shivering Isles. It is by no means intended to serve as the authoritative work on the matter. Rather, it is a personal effort on the part of the author to better understand these unique creatures in the service of the Lord. It is beyond the scope of this work to determine the origins of the Golden Saints and Dark Seducers. They are Daedra, and as such their base existence is a mystery to those mortal born. The commonly held belief that all Daedra are incapable of creation suggests that even Lord Sheogorath himself is not responsible for the genesis of these races. Yet it is worth noting that the Prince of Madness has motives and powers that none may guess. To attempt to do so would only confuse the subject further. It is enough then to see that they exist and know that it is so. Beyond this knowledge, however, it is curious that the saints and seducers serve Lord Sheogorath unerringly. This allegiance is ultimate and eternal, from all indications, but its source is unknown. Could it be that they themselves were tricked into service by the mad god, or do they simply ally themselves with the greatest power in the realm? Previous literary works suggest that Daedra choose to serve their masters so they might find protection and safe harbor. Clearly, the saints and seducers have this in the Shivern Isles. Indeed, they have fortresses which few not of their races are allowed to enter. They have power in the realm, acting as guardians of those who serve Lord Sheogorath. Constantly they vie for the favor of our Lord, fighting any who oppose him and at times even each other. It is reasonable to assume, then, that they have made a willing choice to take up their role in the Isles. Character and society. The immediate image called to mind when hearing the name Golden Saint suggests an angelic figure, elegant and benevolent. It is ironic then that while the Golden Saints embody this image in form, their behavior is in stark contrast to it. The Saints are a proud, arrogant race, quick to anger and cruel in their punishment. There is no question that they view all the Isles as inferior, and make no effort to hide this in their interactions. Dark seducers also exhibit little beyond their appearance to match their names. While they too assert their superiority over all others in the realm, they appear to have a more patient, introspective nature about them. They often appear humble in their dealings with mortals, and are known to be patient with the lesser races. In fact, the terms Golden Saint and Dark Seducer are external constructs. While the two groups recognize and respond to those names, While the two groups recognize and respond to these names, they have their own names for their races, the Oriel and Masken, respectively. It is possible that Daedra simply have no concern for the names and titles given to them by lesser beings, or perhaps they find amusement in the names. Further research into this subject is necessary but daunting, as the saints and seducers do not freely offer personal information about themselves. Other information can be gathered from observation. It is easy to see that the two groups are strongly militaristic in their societal structure. One's strength and discipline determines one's place in society. Military commanders, for example, are revered by their subordinates. With further observation, a second distinction becomes apparent. Both societies are matriarchal in nature. Females lead the guards within New Sheoth and have the highest position of power. Males, while not openly denigrated, are clearly subservient to their female superiors. It is unclear where this practice began, but has been wholly integrated into the daily lives of both races. Conflict and conquest. Any resident of the Shivern Isles can confirm that it is unwise to provoke the Golden Saints and Dark Seducers. They thrive on conflict and warfare, and are quick to punish any and all who disobey. Acting in their capacity as guardians of the realm does not satisfy them, however, and so they often engage in combat with one another, despite being garrisoned in areas where they are unlikely to interact. It is possible that this is more than an outlet for aggressive behavior. Repeated engagements between the two races may be an effort to gain favor with Lord Sheogorath. If one can triumph over the other, it would prove superiority and the right to gain If one can triumph over the other, it would prove superiority and the right to gain sole control of the realm. The battle for Silarne is of particular interest, as both sides have been locked in a combat with no hope of resolution for time beyond memory. Does this combat serve to sharpen the skills of the two sides or weaken them when they could be directed elsewhere? If the conflict cannot be resolved, why then does Lord Shulgoroth not step in and settle it himself? Religion and ceremony. Little is known about these private customs of the Golden Saints and Dark Seducers. They are reclusive when it comes to matters specific to their race, particularly regarding the mysterious process by which they return to the realm in the unlikely event of their death. It is common knowledge that Golden Saints and Dark Seducers, as Daedra, cannot be killed. The animus of the Daedra is cast back into the darkness of oblivion, and can return to the realm to take form once more, but reports of the time it takes for a Daedra to return to the realm from the waters of oblivion are anecdotal and inconclusive. The process by which this return occurs remains shrouded in mystery. Based on behavior patterns and strength of numbers, it can be deduced that the stronghold for each race plays some major part in this process. Common phrases in language, such as "when the chams call you home," suggest that rather than merely a metaphor, sound may play some role in the sequence of events. It is believed that the chimes referred by saints and seducers do indeed exist and are considered almost holy relics. Attempts to gain information about these chimes or the process by which they are used has been met with exceptional hostility and so have been abandoned. Any and all information regarding the Golden Saints and Dark Seducers, particularly relating to private customs and origins, should be brought to the attention of the author immediately. The greater the scope of our knowledge, the better our ability to understand these compelling creatures. Yarn, damn it, I don't need that. Not bad. Urn contained 500 pieces of gold. A chest. I say we must return. Everything we gained must be stored somewhere. Finally, some action. Alright. This fort is called Sidet. Or Sidit. Sidit, yeah. We've gathered black tar. Here nothing of use. That is the camp. So this humming could be the stone obelisks. Interesting. I'm talking about this deep sound we can hear while we are in the Shivering Isles. paint palette. Zealot Patriarch. Thanks for your sword. I can get inside them. Need to recharge that. Let's get back to camp. Probably we'll find something else there. No, nothing. Oh no, we'll find a blacksmith apron here. Right. Now we should go north. Hunger. Roland's house, or Relan. Kishashi.
And a good day to you, sir.
Hello, Kishashi.
I am Kishashi, and Felmore is my domain. A queen, some would call me. But others will say that Sindanwe is in charge. Ha! Liars. Her Majesty cannot tolerate a liar. It is I who makes the rules here. If you need anything, you come to me.
No prob. After all, you're a Khajiit.
Take your time.
You're Khajiit, I'm Khajiit. It should be fine, right? Let's discuss rules.
If you want to sneak up on one of those zealots, wear one of their robes. Fools them every time.
Nice. Very nice. Sindanwe, let's talk about that.
Thinks she's in charge. Treats us as slaves. Do I look like a slave? No. I am a queen. Rightful ruler of the Shivering Isles.
Really?
Even still, if I don't get my work done, I need to harvest at least 5 podmins before the day is done. Bye.
Sindanwe.
Be quick, please. I have a farm to run. It isn't going to run itself now, is it?
I don't know.
We'll see.
First, let's increase your disposition.
You can't scare me. Don't. I like that. A lot. You're good.
Let's discuss Felmore.
We are a farming community. Nothing more, nothing less. That is when I can get these layabouts to actually put in a day's work. Relan is the only one around here worth a damn. And that's only because he loves to kill his pests.
Let's discuss rumors.
If you visit Hale, you may see Pike, a Knight of the Thorn.
Thanks. We've got another quest. Rodara Joe is in need of a hero, but Kishashi won't tell me more until she can trust me. If I want to know more, I need to get her to trust me. She mentioned needing 5 pot pits. Damn it. So we're farming. A farming simulator. I mean, Cyrodiilic farming simulator. Let's get some extra. Maybe they'll even pay us.
Hello. I suppose I can stop to chat with a friend, but I'm really busy. See you.
What? Did you talk to Kishashi? I can't trust you if she doesn't. It's nothing personal, really. It's just that everyone else is out to get me. Wouldn't surprise me if you were here spying on me for you know who. Did Kishashi send you with something? A certain utensil or weapon? Depending on who you ask.
Let's discuss.
Please,
Oh,
go
we can
on.
increase your disposition towards us.
Not now, not later, not ever. My life. You've got a point. Such adventures, how I envy you. Such adventure. I won't fight you.
Let's discuss rumors.
The Gnarl are strange creatures. Hit them with a fireball and they get stronger. But they hate other elements even more.
Let's discuss Felmore.
Watch yourself while you're here. Sindanwe is out for us. She cares for nothing but work, and she keeps us as slaves.
I'll give you a spoon.
Let me see that. Give it here. Where did you get this? This belonged to Kishashi. Did Sindanwe send you to steal this? How did you get this from Kishashi?
She gave me the spoon to give to you.
Oh, then she must really trust you. Still, I better hold on to it just in case. Sindanwe is always trying to hurt my sweet Kishashi. Wouldn't want the slave driver to get her hands on this spoon.
Let's talk about Sindanwe.
Well, I suppose I can trust you. You did bring me the spoon. Sindanwe is pure evil. She must be stopped at all costs. However, she knows everything about all of us. Keeps notes about everything. Everything. She knows so much about us that she can read our minds. But she doesn't know about you yet. So, you must do it. Get rid of her. Get rid of Sindanwe.
How exactly are you intend to do that? How should I get rid of Sindanwe?
Well, there's the obvious way. But don't let us see you do it. Sheogorath has 1,000 eyes and ears. Or you could make her life so miserable that she leaves us alone. She needs everything just so. So sneak into her house and wreck the place.
Oh, no problem.
And confiscate her notebook. She carries it wherever she goes, recording all our secret thoughts. I need that book. My thoughts belong to me.
Okay.
See you.
Renar Joe has asked me to wreck Sindanwe's house and steal her notebook. Let's start with the notebook, shall we? I still think that it's stupid, but why not? It's an adventure. Thanks. I even got some extra. Hey, let's take a key as well.
Stop! Help! Help!
Alright. I don't want this classic way of getting rid of her.
Treacherous little... No. Hey! Come on!
Sindanwe of Felmore is dead. I should speak with Renar Joe to tell him the mission is accomplished. Not exactly. Not exactly went as planned. Right, thank you for your key. Right, we've got our hands on a notebook. The sun listens to my greenness, but where did the moon frown? The sky is empty of children, and the earth eats strawberries. Yet why do the worms taste of bitter plum? Everyone is bereft of spores, or the spores have devoured us all, and we are left with nothing, or everything is inside us, though we find ourselves swimming in rock, where strange things remain, and known things fall outside of their own selves, let alone from each of us. Why play the paintbrush against her? She always stands close to being far away. And what of the farm then? Pale twinkle in the breeze of lyricism. How should I know? What I do know is this: the grass drinks flower dust like a glass bead swallowed tastes nothing, like water. And furthermore, wherever one finds the absence of something, that something surely exists someplace else, or else how could it be absent? There is wisdom in this. Yes, and everything has its place, and every place is its thing belonging to it. It is the way of all things. Even those things misplaced know where they belong. They long to be. That is the whole point of belonging, is it not? And yet we are never so lonely as the stars, as when we find ourselves possessed. Of love, of death, of what then? Life? But they call me enemy, even as they exalt me. Yet even the wind is slave to the clouds. But the rain, it bounces against the sky like apples on a basket. And for what? What shall become of us when the pot pits die? I would like to think that the bleak summer does not herald the death of the rain. But who is to say one way or the other? If the butterflies make up the walls, how does one see inside a room at night? Perhaps the room is already inside us, and we are the ones who need occupants, and our occupants are the ones needing the light. But I digress. The spoon that slays monsters is always the last to enter the mouth, and the first to leave. Nor do eyes in the back of one's head mean that one can walk backwards. Do the knees bend that way? Do the shoes point heavenward? No, we are stuck falling forward until we smash against the door of eternity. That is the essence of life, to be devoured in our own banality, though we wish to be something more. I love this life, but I hate aftertaste, like waking from a dream with someone's fingers in your mouth. How did they get in there? Whose hand do they belong to? Whose hand do any of us belong to, really? It always comes back to belonging, does it not? It does. As the question knows the answer belongs to the question. and that is the whole point, I think, to know the question and thus to belong to the answer. That is why I must write in this book, every day, sometimes twice. The others are jealous of the windflowers that bloom in these pages. They desire to swallow the ink through their nostrils, tasting the bitterness of all that life has in store for them. But it is my life that belongs to me, even as my house belongs to the things inside it, and insides belong to outsides, and outsides are never quite as free to do as they think they are. Always this, one thing after another, but not some things. Some things are better left where they think they are, not where they really are. Not all places are equal, not all things belonging to the same spot. How could that be? No, surely not. When my sun shines through the moon's teeth, then it will be the time, but not until. Until then, I shall continue to smash my head through windows so that I might see where I am, where here is, where I belong, and all things being just so. So I be just, and justice is important in this life, is it not? How else can a life be justified but by this? The sun is forever moving. I must get back to work. I'm grateful I have this place to put my thoughts, lest they become lost and confused as I am, though I'll never let the others see that. They think I have everything in control. How exactly should I rank it? Ooh, ingredients. Mine, all mine. I can't be rich because of all that. How exactly should I rack up this place? Rex Sindanu's house. What exactly should I do? Like that? I've put Sindanu's house in disarray. I should speak with Renard Joe to tell him the mission is accomplished. Alright, enough is enough. Yes, I've wrecked her place.
That should keep her occupied. She'll spend months putting everything back in place. Thank you for your help. Here, take these. I was using it to ward off Sindanwe's evil mind control magic. I don't need it now.
Ring of Mind Shilin added. What about this notebook?
Excellent. Let me see that. Aha! It's right here, written in her own hand. She is planning to murder us all. I knew it.
What are you talking about?
I'll hold on to this. You don't want to get caught by the authorities with it, do you? I suppose I should give you something in exchange. Here, this book might be of use to you. Now leave before someone sees us talking. Go.
Alright, what Battle of Sancretor added.
You better have a good reason for interrupting me. Keeping these miscreants working this mudhole is no simple task. If you must know, I am Sindanwe, foreperson. And don't let that liar Kishashi or that psycho Ranar Joe tell you any different.
Well, it's a bit too late for that.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy your stay in your house.
Can't you see I'm busy? My house. So orderly. And now this. Where do I even begin?
I don't know, the table.
Take care.
We're all mad here. Right, and that concludes our stream for tonight. I'm glad that you all made it tonight. And if you did like my stream, please follow my channel. I wish you all good night, and until next time, stay tuned for the next episodes. So, the stream conclusion for tonight is us doing the unloading sequence in Breville and returning here to Sidit Fort and saving the game there. Thank you again, everyone, and good night.
Well met, guildmate. You're a sneaky-looking sort. Walk with virtue, friend. How do you do?
What?
She does. A pleasure to speak with you. Only quality goods for sale here. What can I interest you in? A fine trip. That's an excellent bargain. That's you drive. You go. That seems a fine transaction. That's more. You got. You drive a. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. You've made a good price. A good price for a good customer. That's a fair deal. Thank you. Come again. You too. Well met, guildmate.
Good friend, this is an honor.
Whoa! Ugh!